Alright, we are here. It is, let me tilt that up a little. It is time to cover the Primordial meta for Battle Frontier in 6 minutes. Now, this is, as always, just your basic look at the meta. If you want to take a look at a complete breakdown of this meta with myself and GBL leaderboard player Lyle Jeffs, we live stream these chats every time there is a GBL or a grassroots restricted meta, custom meta. So if you want to check out the chat for this meta, we'll chuck the link in the description of this video, or you can click here, and we encourage you to check that one out for this one, because this meta is a little bit hard to break down. It's hard to simplify and kind of put into a little box like we do with all the other metas. Let's go through what you've got in this meta, and at the top are your 3 rock type Pokemon in Sudowoodo, Aurorus, and Credilli. They're kind of defining the meta, and everything else kind of goes through that. There's also another cheeky rock a little further down, which I really like, and that is, that is Barbaracle, which has plenty of play against all 3 of these rocks. Like, Credilli's not great for it, being a water rock type that it is, but it can still 2-shield its way through that matchup in some situations. It recommends Stone Edge. There is Stone Edge with Cross Chop. Grass Knot does get you benefits, not as high an overall win rate as what Stone Edge will do, but it can certainly help you with certain things like, you know, Sudowoodo. If you need a little more of a punch against the Sudowoodo, or Milotic, for example, or Greninja, you could probably get by with just like Fury Cutters and Cross Chops. But there are situations where Grass Knot can come in handy. So, you've then got the Dragon Tool. That is, I accidentally clicked on an ad there. So, the dragons are the next type that are super important and meta defining. It's like your rocks and your dragons are your 2 big ones. So, there's dragons and pseudo dragons, and up the top there is the Milotic, which generally beats all the other dragons because it is not taking super effective. It's dealing super effective damage, but not taking it from the other dragons. It also does much better against Aurorus than the other dragons would. So, funnily enough, my favorite dragon in this meta, probably Milotic. You've got different benefits for each one of these, and I encourage you to look through all the dragons. You can absolutely get by with like multiple dragons on your team. This Flygon here I'm finding really interesting. Dragonair as well, with its well-known ability to one-shield its way through Frostlass. Yeah, they've all got different skill sets. Arctobax as well with the ice typing, so it's not taking super effective damage from the Aurorus as well, but it is taking super effective damage from Sudowoodo. Really interesting. So because the dragons are so big, you've got your fairies. There are 2 fairies eligible in this meta, and they are Dedenne and Togetic. They're both very similarly rated. Dedenne is much glassier and therefore harder to use. It does rely on the right baiting game a little bit. Like, for example, on the complete breakdown, Lyle brought up the fact that if you are against a Dragonair, they can 2-shield their way. If you don't land a play rough, they can 2-shield their way through that. And then, because the Thunder Shocks aren't doing very much damage, they can come out with, like, almost full health. And sure, they don't have any shields, but then, like, what else are you going to bring in against that Dragonair now? Because, you know, there are so few things that can handle the dragons. So Dedenne is very difficult, but I like it. It's also got that discharge. That electric damage is actually pretty handy for a few other matchups. There are a few water types around which are really nice. And Togetic is the other one, and it does have the legacy move of Steel Wing. It can work with Fairy Wind, but Steel Wing is just a lot nicer, again, for the rock types. Also doing double super effective damage to the Aurorus in particular is handy. You've got your neutral normals, which are just very, like, generalist matchups. The Snorlax with Lick Body Slam superpower is nothing to be messed with. Like a Sudowoodo, you know Aurorus has to respect the superpower, but the Sudowoodo has to respect it as well. If they no-shield the first move and it is a superpower, then you can lick down from there in the one-shield. So that's an important matchup. And then you got Munchlax, which is terrible against the rocks, but much better against Snorlax. So if you just find yourself coming up against so many Snorlaxes in your bouts, then maybe Munchlax is the way to go. Same with like, I mean, Alolan and Raticate not as much because, you know, it does have to respect the superpower as well. But then there's also Castform as well that does have the tackle and the Energy Ball for the rocks. Then you got your electrics. We've already talked about the Zene. Charge Bug, really interesting. It works way better with an energy lead or shield advantage than it says in the rankings. Graveler, Alolan Graveler can one shield its way through a Sudowoodo with a bait. And you got Ampharos here as well, which has play. Galvantula, like that. It's probably pretty handy to have an electric type in your team. Not essential, but it'll be good. And then some other kind of cheeky extra picks that don't fit into any of those categories are your Greninja, which does really, really well with an energy lead. Mandibuzz, which will wall a Snorlax and doesn't do the worst against Sudowoodo. Does lose, but like it's not a whitewash. And then a bit further down, I also like the Lissapod with a lot of neutral matchups and play with Fury Cutter instead of the usual Shadow Claw. So that is it for the Primordial Cup domain for this cycle. Let us know what you plan to run in the comments, and may the leads be in your favor.